Donald Trump is not only the worst president in American history, he is also the most petty and insecure. It is why, above all else, Donald Trump demands loyalty. His cabinet is a cult. They pledge their allegiance not to the Constitution, but to him. And Donald Trump expects that from everyone in our government, including the military. And a shocking new leaked bit of communication just revealed how deeply Donald Trump wants the military to be committed to him instead of our Constitution. It is shocking and one of the most disturbing stories we have seen out of this presidency, as leaked texts are revealing, a story that we are going to get into. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way in supporting the work we are doing here. Now, before we can get into this shocking story, I want some context with Pete Hegseth's appearance before the Senate today, in which he was asked about screening troops for political identities right here.
And now, new last week, requiring prospective employees to explain how they would, quote, help support the president's executive orders and policy priorities. We have spoken with military installations across our country. Almost all of them have been forced to fire skilled civilian employees who are badly needed. And all of them also have hundreds, and in some cases thousands, of new hires ready to bring on board, but now have to individually be reviewed by OPM, apparently to ensure that they support the president's priorities. We need to drop the politics in our military. We need to hire the best people. We do not need to force them out. That is simply the case at this point. I'm out of time. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
This is an incredibly disturbing policy that Pete Hegseth is carrying out. Not only is he screening our service members for their allegiance to Trump, also their allegiance to his executive orders, to his legislation, to if he puts out a bleat at 3 a.m., they are expected to take it as gospel. That is the type of loyalty, that is the type of allegiance that Donald Trump is demanding. And not only is it scary, it's also detrimental to our military, as Tammy Baldwin pointed out right here.
We have those details and that information, and we will get it to you.
Well, the committee needs those details. So this committee has also worked hard alongside the department to improve recruitment and meet retention goals. The department is planning to separate several thousand service members due to your partisan beliefs about troops who are transgender. Mr. Secretary, I've seen your speeches and social media posts, but what I'm interested in is the sound policy analysis that we would expect from the Secretary of Defense on how this misguided decision will impact military readiness. My colleagues and I have requested this information from you, and we are still waiting to receive it. And so I will ask you now, what assessment did the Department of Defense conduct prior to implementation to evaluate the impact that this policy would have on our national security? Moreover, what is the cost to recruit and train thousands of individuals of comparable experience and skill?
Thankfully, recruiting is not an issue. It's at historically high levels, and we're proud of the cross-section of Americans that are joining.
What analysis did you do?
We did extensive analysis, Senator, and we agree with the assessment of the executive order that was issued by the White House that there are mental health issues associated with gender dysphoria that complicate military service and readiness, and as a result, we made the decision.
I have asked for that analysis. Please provide it to me and the committee.
Donald Trump, who dodged the draft, all based off of phony bone spurs that didn't even exist, has no right to question the service and dedication of our transgender men and women in the military. It is absolutely disgusting. It is gross, and it is dangerous as we lose service members with these bans from Pete Hegseth. He has no right to be doing so, and it is disappointing that this is what we are seeing out of our military. But the most disappointing thing was what we saw from Fort Bragg yesterday, the inception of this story, where we saw the boos rain down on Gavin Newsom, an American governor in the state of California. We have to check out that clip because it's important context for this story.
Wearing a uniform because you don't know exactly who they are. In Los Angeles, the governor of California, the mayor of Los Angeles.
So I know that that is an incredibly disturbing clip, but how we got there is even more disturbing. And it was broken down after leaked communications texts about Donald Trump's event that day at Fort Bragg reveal just how it happened, and I want to take a look. Trump screened out fat soldiers and non-MAGA fans ahead of Fort Bragg's speech. Donald Trump's controversial speech at Fort Bragg in North Carolina, in which he led the audience in boos against his perceived political enemies, turns out to be a tightly choreographed, reported by military.com, with officials screening out soldiers who don't agree with Trump's agenda and even soldiers who are overweight. The internal 82nd Airborne Division communications, reviewed by military.com, reveal a tightly orchestrated effort to curate the optics of Trump's recent visit, including handpicking soldiers for the audience based on political leanings and physical appearance. For example, one message sent to units said, "No fat soldiers," while another said if soldiers have political views that are in opposition to the current administration and they don't want to be in the audience, then they need to speak with their leadership and get swapped out. A commander who wished to remain anonymous told military.com, "This has been a bad week for the Army. For anyone who cares about us being neutral, this was shameful. I don't expect anything to come out of it, but I hope maybe we can learn from it long term." During the speech, Trump raged against California, where he has deployed the National Guard and Marines to break up protests against mass deportation, and urged the soldiers in attendance to boo the protesters and the news media. The speech triggered outrage over the perceived inappropriate behavior of using troops as political props when televised partisan cheers by soldiers are against longstanding military rules. This is a disgraceful display. Donald Trump is screening service members before they join our military. Who gets to stand behind him at a speech demanding that they boo the governor of California? This is insanity. This might be one of the worst things we have seen come out of this Trump administration, which is difficult to even get across that bar. But this is what we're doing. Donald Trump said he ran almost explicitly on institutions being politicized against political opponents, saying that Joe Biden had politicized the military, the DOJ, the FBI. He didn't. Donald Trump expressly is. These are political moves, and it is sickening. And that is why Pete Hegseth deserved to get called out today, and for many reasons, which we saw Senator Brian Schatz do right here.
And I guess that goes to my question for the secretary. Two things. There should be some sort of paper flow that the committee, the Congress, the public can look at in invoking Title 10, Section 12406. So can you give us some clarification on whether the orders that were issued apply to specifically Los Angeles, to California generally, or is this a nationwide order?
The orders that have been issued, which are publicly available and known, relate to an ongoing situation in Los Angeles, which could expand to other places. But it's quite easy to point out that there has been an invasion of 21 million illegals in our country under the previous administration.
So
this administration was elected to get a hold of that.
Yeah, could we just
and
take
when you
turns?
have
Yeah.
ICE officers being attacked with concrete blocks,
Secretary,
they should be allowed to do their job.
Secretary, I'd really like to not try to create a viral moment for either of us. I'm actually trying to understand kind of the scope of this order. The order effectuates the ability to mobilize the Guard and the Marines. In the order, it does not specify a location. It does not specify which Marines or which Guard. And I'm trying to figure out if you decided to do this collectively in Kansas or any other place, would you need to specify a new sort of fact pattern, or do you think this order applies to any Guard, anywhere, any service branch, anywhere? It's just I get your justification. We disagree about the circumstances. I'm just trying to figure out, did you just potentially mobilize every Guard everywhere and every service member everywhere? I mean, create the framework for that. I understand you didn't. I'm saying, what does the document do, in your opinion?
Senator, if you notice, the initial order of 2,000 in California was followed by a follow-on order for the additional 2,000, with a recognition that the situation there required more resources in order to support law enforcement. So part of it is getting ahead of a problem, so that if in other places, if there are other riots in places where law enforcement officers are threatened, we would have the capability to surge National Guard there if necessary. And thankfully, in most of those states, you'd have a governor that recognizes the need for it, supports it, and mobilizes it him or herself. In California, unfortunately, the governor wants to play politics with it.
I did step on the last part of your sentence, so I'm going to try to take turns here. Just on the 747 question, did the Department of Defense initiate the conversation with the Qataris? Did they initiate the conversation? How did that go?
Senator, I have to go back and review it, but we've been a part of the ongoing conversation.
Yeah, but I think it kind of matters who's asking, doesn't it?
Ultimately, the Defense Department is, or soon will be, when the memorandum of understanding is signed, in receipt of a gift from the Qatari government that could serve, once it's modified, eventually as something that the president could use.
I mean, I think this is illegal and unconstitutional, and I won't rant about that, but I actually think from the standpoint of our collective responsibilities, it very much matters what the paper flow was, who started these conversations. Did it come out of the White House? Did it come out of the Secretary of State or the President or the SecDef or at a lower level or ambassadors? Like, we're entitled to know, because we can agree or disagree about the propriety of this. But my basic request of you is that if we're going to disagree, let's disagree with the same set of facts. Let's have the documentation on the Qatari aircraft. Let's have the same set of documentation about what these orders do and don't do with respect to Los Angeles. Because if we're just going to scream past each other and then see who succeeds more.
You've signed a contract with a company to reconfigure the aircraft. What is the price of that contract?
That cannot be revealed in this setting, sir.
Why can't it be revealed in this setting? Well, this is the Appropriations Committee of the United States Senate. We appropriate the money that you will spend after it's authorized by my committee. And you cannot tell us how much the contract is for?
You will have that number, Senator. It just
No,
can't be talked
you
about
want
in
it
a
now.
public
It's
realm.
been signed. The contract has been signed, correct? The contract has been signed?
The memorandum of understanding is not
No,
complete, and
I'm
therefore
talking about
it's
the
not
contract with the American contractor. Has it been signed?
It's nothing on that front that I'm aware of is being executed.
Well, that's contrary to what we've all heard.
I am deeply disturbed. This is deeply uncomfortable, and we need to continue to call it out every single day. We're going to be on this show, and if you want to support the work that we're doing here and the work of independent media, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around to the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.